A shattered shield spins across the battlefield, echoing like a fading heartbeat. Tony Stark stares into the distance, blood in his eyes, as if waiting for destiny's final verdict. Captain America, lit by lightning, lifts Mjolnir with a roar, breaking the silence of time itself. And somewhere in the ruins of Avengers HQ, Hawkeye runs alone, his eyes reflecting grief and the last flicker of hope. This isn't just a battle. This is a war against fate, sacrifice, and the weight of time. Avengers Endgame isn't just a finale, it's a cinematic ritual. It turns time into a weapon, memory into a battlefield, and asks what it really means to lose, to remember, and to hope again. It's not about the big final fight. It's about what we do with regret. It's about the things we wish we'd said. And the haunting question of, what if I had just one more chance? Did this ending really come from the writer's imagination? Or is Endgame secretly telling us that we are the ones who can't let go? If you had a time machine, where would you go back to? And more importantly, what would you try to change? You can't kill Iron Man. This movie is a victory song for the defeated. 3 hours with no non-stop climax? Audiences won't buy it. These were all real debates during the making of Avengers Endgame. The film wasn't just the grand finale of the MCU. It was a creative war, fought frame by frame across emotional minefields. Directors Joe and Anthony Russo, along with screenwriters Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, weren't just dealing with time travel paradoxes. They were grappling with a deeper question. How do you make a global audience feel satisfied by showing them loss? The genesis of Endgame wasn't triumph. It was trauma. To the creative team, the snap wasn't the climax, it was the cliff. And what they wanted was not a rebound story, but a narrative of slow unraveling. Broken heroes, scattered alliances, grief that lingers. Originally, things were safer. In early drafts, Tony Stark survives. Natasha Romanoff lives. Thor doesn't gain weight. Hulk remains savage. Time travel targets alternate universes, not their own past. But the Russo brothers rejected it all. Too clean. Too predictable. They wanted a version of Endgame that hurt in all the right places. So they rewrote. Iron Man would face the final question. Will you sacrifice your life for a future you'll never see? Black Widow would die without a monument because she had no family and chose to give everyone else theirs back. Thor would lose his godhood to grief, so audiences who were emotionally numb could finally see themselves in a hero. Kevin Feige, Marvel Studios president, once revealed, they filmed 2 versions of Tony's death. One peaceful, eyes closing. The other, the now iconic, I am Iron Man. They chose the latter. Not because it was flashier, but because it was a full circle echo, a cinematic heartbeat linking back to the very first MCU film. I am Iron Man. 14 years. 22 films. And it all ends with a whisper of identity. Avengers Endgame is a film about time. But it doesn't just talk about time, it uses time. The Russo brothers turn the camera into a vessel of chronology. Every shot, every frame, is a brushstroke of fate, memory, and silent reckoning. One color language, invisible signals of goodbye. The entire film is divided by an emotional palette. Memory blue, seen in moments like Tony sitting by the lake or Hulk quietly smiling in a diner. It's not just sadness, it's time that can't be reclaimed. Grief gray, used in the ruins of the Avengers facility and Steve's lonely scenes. It paints the world like a grave, silent, motionless. Heroic gold explodes during the final battle. When the sky turns from ash to warmth, gold becomes rebirth. It's the visual grammar of hope. And that legendary moment when Cap wields Mjolnir? Lightning rips the sky. Cold blues dominate the frame. Then BEM. One golden flash. It's not just light. It's cinematic transcendence. 2. Composition. The chessboard of collective and individual. Many frames in Endgame use rule of thirds, symmetry to position characters in quiet battle with space. The 6 original Avengers walking through the quantum portal, shot from above, equidistant, helmets reflecting sterile light. It feels more like a funeral procession than a victory march. Iron Man confronting Thanos. The background is blurred. One side of Tony's face falls into darkness, the visual metaphor of split self. His armor reflects light. His eyes reflect doubt. 3. Camera movement. Stillness that cuts deeper than action. The film avoids flashy rotations. Instead, it favors slow tracking, gentle zooms. Especially after Tony's sacrifice. There's no bombastic music. No fast cuts. Only ashes, wind, and a camera moving like a mourner. It's not trying to make you cry. It's trying to let you grieve. Character arcs, the loudest stories are in the silences. Yes, Iron Man's sacrifice is front and center. But the soul of the film lives in its quietest characters. Hawkeye loses everything. He becomes Ronin not because he hates crime, but because he can't forgive a world where the guilty lived and the good vanished. Nebula kills her past self. She is the only character to literally face herself and erase who she once was. She isn't a victor, she's a consequence. These aren't supporting roles. They're the hidden carriers of the movie's moral architecture. Cultural symbolism. Time travel isn't a fix, it's a farewell. The time machine is not a tool for winning. It's a narrative therapy device for letting go. Steve's dance with Peggy is shown through a window. That's not a romantic shot, it's a statement. This isn't your present anymore. Tony meets his father, not to fix him, but to finally say thank you. Natasha dies off-screen. There is no shrine, no speech. She chooses to be unremembered because that was her piece. Time travel isn't a solution. It's a mirror. That's how the Russo brothers explain their approach to Avengers Endgame. This quote is the key to the film's storytelling structure. Endgame is not a linear epic. It's a psychological map, stitched together by grief, memory, and the need to heal. 1. Narrative architecture. Time as emotional suturing. The story unfolds in 3 acts, each representing a stage of trauma processing. Post-snap reality, denial and disillusionment. Heroes are paralyzed, lost, wandering in guilt. Time heist phase, reckoning and confrontation. They revisit their pasts. Tony meets his father. Thor meets his mother. Nebula meets her former self. These moments represent psychological confrontation. Final stand, synthesis and sacrifice, not victory but integration. Heroes don't just win, they accept. This structure isn't about defeating Thanos. It's about asking one question. If I could do it over, what would I change? So no, the time machine isn't for saving the world. It's for saving the soul. 2. Directorial style. Russo brothers' deconstruction of power. If Infinity War was a cosmic war symphony, Endgame is a quiet theater piece in 3 acts. Long-held close-ups dominate key scenes, like Tony's I Love You 3000. No cuts, no music, just stillness, like a bedtime story before the end. Subversion of classic hero tropes. Thor gets fat. Hulk gets calm. Cap retires. These aren't gimmicks. They're dismantlings of the superhero ideal. Use of silence and empty space. Black Widow's death is followed by an eerie pause. No dramatic scoring. Just presence. Just grief. Some execs resisted this approach. They feared audiences wanted another punch fest. But the Russos stood firm and gave us a Marvel film that barely felt like Marvel. And that's what made it unforgettable. 3. Critical and academic disputes. Duality in discourse. In film criticism and academic circles, Endgame triggered an unusual polarization. One camp called it a meta-commentary on the hero myth. The film doesn't ask how to win. It asks why winning matters at all. It breaks form by suggesting maybe losing is necessary. The other camp argued that it manipulates nostalgia, using sentiment to mask structural flaws. They claimed the film didn't challenge its characters, just rewarded them. Even the time travel sparked heated debate. Some critics said it broke narrative causality, weakening Infinity War's irreversible weight. Others countered, the irreversible deaths, like Natasha's, prove sacrifice still matters. Because yes, history may bend, but responsibility never disappears. And that's where Endgame becomes bold. You can rewrite the past, but you can't erase the cost. At the climax of Avengers Endgame, Thanos sits quietly as he fades into ash. No last words. No resistance. Just stillness. This is not the fall of a villain. This is the film's final metaphor for outdated power. 1. The core systemic failure of Thanos. Not power, but stagnation. Thanos loses not because he's outmatched. He loses because his worldview can't evolve. He still believes in the old model. Control the supply. Balance the system. Save the future. That's industrial age logic. Sacrifice half to sustain the whole. But Endgame offers a different thesis. Systems don't get repaired. They get replaced. Tony Stark wins not because he's stronger, but because he imagines a new structure beyond destruction. It's a direct commentary on real-world power systems. Who decides who gets sacrificed? Are solutions just dressed-up moral shortcuts? When efficiency replaces empathy, does anyone even matter? Thanos doesn't ask these questions, so the universe answers for him. 2. Heroes' motivations are not about victory, they're about belonging. The film's emotional weight comes not from winning, but from choosing where and with whom to belong. Tony Stark had every reason not to return. He had a wife, a child, a second chance. But he came back, not to play the hero, but to build a world where his daughter would never have to lose her father. Steve Rogers, the soldier who always followed orders, finally broke the rules for love. He didn't want a medal. He just wanted that one last dance. Natasha Romanoff had no biological family. She gave her life not for a mission, but so that someone else could go home to theirs. Their arc isn't about saving the world. It's about choosing who matters when the world ends. 3. The new heroism, not saving the day, but rebuilding the broken. Old hero narratives are about stopping bombs, beating villains, averting apocalypse. Endgame subverts this. It tells a new kind of story. Heroes don't fix everything. They just stay with you while you rebuild. This shift mirrors real-world crises from pandemics to climate breakdown, where no single solution can win. What matters is who stays. Tony didn't prevent loss, but he reversed it. Natasha didn't survive, but she gave others a future. Thor didn't save his kingdom, but he passed it on. Steve didn't fight till the end. He chose peace, finally, for himself. These aren't traditional victories. They're emotional reckonings. Because sometimes what we need most isn't a savior. It's someone who doesn't leave when we fall apart. That's not weakness. That's the foundation of all community. On the surface, Endgame is about sacrifice and salvation. But beneath that, it's a film about responsibility breakdown, how not just people but systems fall apart. 1. Why reactions were so polarized, who felt seen and who felt betrayed. Endgame made over $2.7 billion. It became a cultural monolith. Yet audiences were split. Some saw it as the perfect farewell. Others walked out feeling angry, hollow, even cheated. Why did Tony have to die? Why did Natasha get a funeral? Why did the heroes give up the mission? This wasn't just fan backlash. It exposed two clashing psychological needs. The savior complex. Audiences want heroes to never stop saving because reality feels unfixable. The collective shift. Other viewers were ready. They accepted the end of gods and the return of responsibility. Endgame shattered the illusion for the first group. But it empowered the second, those ready to stop worshiping heroes and start becoming them. 2. Who broke the world? It wasn't Thanos. It was the system that led him. Thanos wasn't the disease. He was the symptom. Hydra infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. for years. Governments froze post-snap. No recovery systems. No global plan. Previous films hinted at superhero registration acts, bureaucratic mistrust, sowing division. Thanos merely walked into a vacuum. A system with no checks, no clarity, no leadership. And Endgame asks a haunting question. What if the real villain is not a man, but the absence of responsibility itself? Sound familiar? From pandemics to climate collapse, we're not failing because of one bad actor. We're failing because everybody assumed someone else would step up. 3. When does justice turn into sacrifice logic? One of most morally murky scenes, the Soul Stone sacrifice. Natasha jumps. Clint begs to take her place. She insists, you have a family. I don't. It's framed as noble. But step back. Who decides who's worth sacrificing? The one without kids? The quietest team member? The woman with the fewest close ties? Yes, Nat chooses it. But the system that made her feel less needed? That's never questioned. Just like in our world, some people are quietly expected to give more, suffer more, endure more. Why? Because they can? That's not justice. That's structural bias dressed in sacrifice's clothing. And the film refuses to answer. Because sometimes the point isn't clarity. It's to make you sit with the discomfort. You think you're watching Endgame? Maybe. Endgame is watching you. Beneath the superhero spectacle lies a chilling set of sociological and psychological forecasts, a warning embedded in a time-traveling epic. 1. The snap is not fiction. It's a systemic collapse metaphor. Thanos' snap erased half the universe. Sounds absurd until you recall. The 2020 global pandemic shut down cities, economies, flights, an eerie real-world echo of the snap. Climate disasters, algorithmic market crashes, and digital blackouts have become our new snaps. In Endgame, the world isn't broken because people are gone. It's broken because trust, structure, and meaning all shattered with them. That's not sci-fi. That's now. Time travel isn't a device. It's a delusion. Everyone wants a redo. If only I hadn't lost them. If only I could go back. The time machine isn't science. It's a metaphor for modernity's toxic obsession with undoing pain without facing it. We see this everywhere. Yearning for the good old days. Political rhetoric about returning to greatness. Companies trying to reset instead of reform. But Endgame says, you can revisit your past, but you have to pay for it. 2. The realistic solutions embedded in the fantasy. Small orange diamond parallel teams equals real-world crisis response. The Avengers don't move as one unit. They split into missions. They trust each other. They improvise. This mirrors distributed crisis architecture, a model that works better in pandemics, climate action, cybersecurity. It's the only way to tackle systemic problems now. No one leader. Just many acting with shared purpose. Small orange diamond's sacrifice as empowerment, not martyrdom. Tony doesn't die tragically. He dies intentionally. Knowing he'll never see the new world, he chooses to build it anyway. We've seen this. Healthcare workers during COVID. Mutual aid volunteers. Whistleblowers risking everything to protect others. They're not superheroes, but they're human enough to act when acting costs the most. 3. Human resilience. The real ending is never grand, it's gentle. There's no final victory. Natasha's grave is unknown. Tony's last smile never sees tomorrow. Steve passes the shield to someone else. It's not resolution. It's continuity of care. Endgame isn't about restoring the world. It's about reminding us that brokenness isn't the end of the story. Every day, someone new picks up the shield. Not because they're ready, but because no one else will. And that's where hope begins. After Endgame, it becomes hard to see superhero films as mere escape. This was never about capes. It was a story about rebuilding meaning after loss. Here's a curated list of films and books for those who want to explore the deeper themes that Endgame quietly raised. 1. Film recommendations. Small Blue Diamond Arrival, 2016. Language Shapes Time. Memory Bends Fate. Just like in Endgame, this is about making peace with the inevitable and choosing love despite knowing the loss. Themes: determinism, grief, nonlinear time. Small Blue Diamond The Leftovers, 2014 to 2017, HBO. 2% of the world vanishes. No answers. No monsters. Just the unbearable aftermath. This show might be the spiritual twin of Infinity War's post-snap world. Themes: grief, meaning rebuilding identity. 2. Book recommendations. Blue Book The Uninhabitable Earth, David Wallace Wells. Nonfiction. A brutally honest account of climate collapse. Endgame snapped half the world in seconds. This book shows what it looks like when collapse comes slowly and nobody stops it. Closed Book Station 11, Emily St. John Mandel. After a pandemic ends civilization, a troupe of actors travels the ruins performing Shakespeare. Art becomes the last ritual of humanity. Just like Endgame, the question becomes, when everything is gone, what still matters? Orange Book How to Do Nothing, Jenny Odell. This isn't about laziness. It's about choosing not to participate in burnout culture. The Avengers in hiding? They were doing this before it was cool. Themes: attention, capitalism, healing. Green Book Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor E. Frankl. Written from a Nazi concentration camp, this book explores how humans survive spiritual annihilation. Frankl doesn't preach. He teaches. Even in hell, you can still choose to be human. As Tony Stark whispered his final words, "I am Iron Man," it wasn't just a callback. It was a release. After 11 years, he wasn't claiming power. He was claiming peace, finally stepping out of the armor, emotionally and spiritually. Maybe what he meant was, I am done running. But what if we flip the script? What if? What if Natasha had lived and Tony died? Would you still call it fair? What if Steve kept fighting instead of choosing love? Would we respect him more or less? What if Thanos had won again? Would that be evil? Or just honest? This movie doesn't ask you to believe in answers. It dares you to ask better questions. Film frames behind the scenes, facts you might have missed. The original cut of Tony's death had no final line. It was Robert Downey Jr.'s real-life wife who pushed for I am Iron Man. It was added last minute in a reshoot. Black Widow's death replaced an earlier script where Clint died. The writers changed it because Natasha would never let someone else jump. Fat Thor almost got cut by Disney execs. The Russos insisted he earned this trauma. Speech Balloon, let's play the what-if game together. If you were one of them, and you got a second chance after the snap, what would you choose differently? Memo drop one emoji in the comments to describe how Endgame made you feel.